Hi, my name is Mike Lawrence. This video is one of a set which is intended to provide a different interpretation of the experimental results that constitute the foundation of current physics. It is clear that the present explanation for what we see in the universe is good in many ways, but it is missing an overall coherence. My view is that we need to look at physics with new eyes and consider an interpretation that explains most things well, even if it does question just about everything. I do not disagree with any experimental results, only the interpretation of those results. And I do not say that the hypothesis that I'll be talking about in these videos is the theory of everything, and that everything I suggest is correct, but it is a start. Each video in the set will cover an aspect of physics. The whole set needs to be understood together in combination, because many aspects rely on each other, and any one taken on its own may not be convincing to those relying on the current interpretations, some of whom may actually be offended by the hypothesis. There will be links in the videos to other videos in the set that cover closely related or overlapping aspects. Within the boxes in the videos are representations of the motions of the particles and their composites, which I will be explaining more fully. I'm happy to answer questions where I can, perhaps providing links to where a deeper mathematical analysis shows why I say what I do, since equations and graphs do not make good videos, and will post replies where appropriate on Twitter. I hope you enjoy the videos and they enable you to better appreciate the absolute symmetry and simplicity of nature. But please remember, I'm not an experienced presenter, and although I state everything as if it were correct, this is only a hypothesis. This is video number 20, time. There are three levels of time. One is at the merged pair level, where each pair has its own vibration, rotation or translational motion. A volume of the background that the merged pairs form will have an average that depends on the local background density. However, we will not be able to observe that time directly, and the volume will only experience it as a greater or lesser amount of viscosity, charge or gravitational fields that have an effect on loops. The second level of time is in the loops. Each loop contains its own time and its rotational frequency of its meons. A volume of loops will have an average time, dependent on the average frequency, meaning the mass energy, of that volume. The greater the mass energy in that volume, meaning its gravitational field, the slower time passes. This is gravitational time dilation due to loops and is one form of redshift. Since a background of only merged pairs has no unmerged meons in loops, there can be no loop time before loops were formed as part of an inflation event during our Big Bang. This latter level is the one we usually experience because we use loops to measure loop frequencies in charge or gravitational fields. The third level of time is a phase difference that is experienced between two objects, relativity without gravitation. In the twins paradox, initially the loops comprising each twin are rotating at the same average frequency and can be considered to have no phase difference between each other's loops. The accelerated twins loops rotate at a lower relative frequency and gain overall motion energy when measured in the frame of reference of the stationary twin, and have higher viscosity energy losses due to their motion through the background viscosity. The same happens on the twin's return. Once the moving twin has decelerated back to the frame of reference of the stationary twin, there is a locked-in phase difference between each other's loops. This phase difference is the time difference that they measure between them. There is no symmetry between the twins because the energies of motion of objects and viscosity energy lost through the background versus the same object as being stationary when considered in a moving frame of reference are not the same. The former loses net energy through the two trips due to viscosity, and it has experienced a slower clock, whilst at a higher motional energy, whilst the latter does not. Different frames of reference comparisons are not equal. Space-time does not exist as a whole, but only within individual loops. Average time exists for volumes of space. There was no loop time, which is what we experience, before loops formed. Related videos would be 21, energy, force and inertia, and 17, redshifts and dark energy. Thank you for watching.